moving on from some of the published works that we've got in the special collections, looking at local churches, I've got quite an interesting set here, which again is from the James Ward collection. But this is a set of 3 books that are they are 3 volumes of the Churches of the Hundred of Rushcliffe in Nottingham, which was written by John Thomas Godfrey. The work was published in 1887, but these 3 books are actually the author's manuscript copy. So they include handwritten pages. There are some bits pasted in. There's corrections and notes. There's a few typed bits and things stuck in from other places. There's the notes on the frontispiece, how this should be, a change of a few words, a note that it should all be in Roman capitals, little diagram of the crest that's going to be at the head of it. And what's really nice is that we also have the published version of this work. So we can see how the sketch turned out in the actual published version, which is rather lovely. But yes, so this is the published work. All 3 of the handwritten volumes ended up in this one volume. The published work includes a lot more illustrations than the manuscript text, but the manuscript, of course, is unique. So this is just fascinating to look at the way that the written draft has then been amended and commented on, and how it translates into what actually eventually ended up being published in 1887. Now, John Thomas Godfrey was he was a local historian in Nottingham. He was also a friend of James Ward, and we know that James Ward would sometimes employ Godfrey in order to edit and transcribe manuscripts which James Ward had bought. So the fact that this manuscript version of Godfrey's work has ended up in James Ward's collection is, it seems relatively logical considering the sort of relationship that they had. So Godfrey was born in Lenton in Nottingham in 1857. And he developed a reputation as a local historian. He published histories of churches, such as this one, which was on the churches in the Hundred of Rushcliffe. He also did the Hundred of Bingham, and he did churches in Lenton, he did churches in Nottingham. We have copies of most of those works within the collection, but this, as I say, is particularly nice because it's the working copy, as it were. Godfrey lived until 1911. He was a fellow of the Royal Historical Society, and as I say, we have a variety of his works in the collection, and his link with James Ward also makes these particularly interesting. So one wonders whether any of the corrections and notes in here might have been from James Ward himself. That's speculation, but it's always good to speculate. So this is a particularly interesting example of the books that we have that relate to local churches and local church history.